The following is a night way chant from the Navajo Indian tribe. With beauty before me may I walk. With beauty behind me may I walk. With beauty above me may I walk. Wish beauty below me may I walk. With beauty all around me may I walk. It is finished in beauty. It is finished in beauty. Thanatology is the study of death and dying, and it can be one of the most beautiful and heart-rending of all studies, but it can also be one of the most confrontational as well. The difficult part about the study of thanatology is that during the studies we face the constant and prevailing realization that none of us are immune to death, and that eventually all the things we care about and love will meet their end, including ourselves. Plants die, animals die, even the places we go and the objects that we shape out of materials fall into states of degradation in order to change their essential form. If we look at this concept further, we see that planets and stars, cosmic energies and circumstances continually change and eventually dissipate in order to feed a new and emerging system. As I worked to obtain a master's degree in thanatology as a graduate student at Marian University, I felt the raw and desperate need to discern the most wonderful reasons for living and to identify a path that would carry me through the pains of investigating loss to such a painful degree. Thus, I decided to define the Native American term the beauty way for myself in my own life and ways. I hoped that I would come to know myself better, gain insights into what constitutes a life worth living in a way that it might inspire or help others to define their own beauty way, too, someday. During this part of the journey, I have come to realize there is this something beautiful to behold when we see just beyond the clutching pain of realizing the impermanence of life. I think it's because when we know that all things will eventually end, we come to realize that we have something unutterably priceless in our grasp. We are holding the essence of life, and when we can view our lives as incarnate physical beings is sacred. We can also begin to realize that as long as life forces flow through us, we can still do things to make a difference in the physical realms. We are still able to share blessings from the heart and make meaningful and positive contributions by using the gifts that we each are most uniquely qualified to share. When we each take time to solemnly touch upon the realization that we are only each given a limited amount of time to live and roam this earth, it also helps us to bond in the mutual recognition that we are not alone in this temporary state of animation. Not only do we each possess the knowledge that our time is limited, we also know that we will never be wholly certain as to how long we have or what is beyond the veil at the end of this journey. Through these mutual affirmations we can come to bond with each other in our mutual eventual endings. Plus, we can learn from each other about how to live life while also carrying the knowledge of death, how to face death itself and what it all might mean. We can listen to stories of people who have gone beyond the threshold between life and death through near-death experiences, and we can find deep meaning in their accounts. We can spend time alongside one another as we take turns dying and learn from these passages, and in the meantime along the way we can share in the joys and pains of the journey. Similarly, we can choose to seek answers in the faith messages from our unique religious and spiritual practices, and we can share insights which often serves to soften the sting of loss and death. Sometimes tales, lessons and ways of seeing death that are imparted unto us by others to help us to find ways to make peace with this temporal existence. On the other hand, sometimes it's the things we share and impart on others that ease the way for others. Thankfully it is always an individual journey, so if we find ourselves attracted to a certain viewpoint surrounding death we can adopt it. Conversely, if we see that there are part of a belief system surrounding death that we do not embrace, we can set aside anything we deem fitting to disregard. Despite any beneficial spiritual beliefs we may have adopted, we are only ever able to travel to the brink of knowing what is beyond the end. Nothing anyone can say or tell us outside of what we have witnessed firsthand is going to represent complete and utter truth for us though. And, until we arrive at that moment when we no longer exist in the physical realms, we can only see partial facets of the truth for ourselves. Sadly, Though once we cross that point of no return, we can't turn back and provide one another reassurances. At least none of us are alone in this unknowing. The best we can do is to surmise what happens based on faith stories and legends, myths and religious passages. Despite our best investments in faith, none of us can wholly and unquestioningly know until we find or lose ourselves to that place or state. That is why some of us find faith so potent, because it holds promises of something better in the great beyond. We have been given the gift of being able to courageously see others through as they meet their final passages, and many of us hope that others are there when it is our time to transition. While we are still alive though, most of us want to find out what truly matters most to us and how to best contribute while we are still alive. Oftentimes this involves pushing through trials and coming to understand our personal answers to the most important questions that come our way on this roller coaster we call life. Though it might feel very heavy to bear the responsibilities of reflecting deeply on the topic of death, we might also come to see things from a more positive perspective during the process. When we see life as a temporary gift, we start to gain perspectives about the pricelessness of being here and alive today with all the potential at our fingertips. Even with small and uncertain steps, we can begin to find small ways to seize the day and come to define our own personal beauty ways for ourselves.